All right, shalom, everybody. Shabbat shalom. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer. And it is in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect his message. Amen. Amen. Welcome. Hopefully, everybody's doing all right. Thank you for being on with us today. We appreciate you all. As always, this Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for taking time out to be with us. Thank you for spending yet another moment with us as we're on today, TikTok and YouTube. Looks like we have a better signal going on today, so we're thankful for that. We're appreciative of that. Once again, we give all praise and honor to the Most High, Yahweh Elohim, who is our Abba, our Ba'at Hakwadash. We are thankful and grateful to him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. And we're thankful and grateful for all that she does. We're thankful and grateful for each and every one of you for joining us today. We're thankful and grateful to everybody who's part here, to Marsha, Malcolm, Betty, Isabel, and Solomon. Daddy loves you very much. To the ministerial staff, to the moderators, to each and every one of you, we appreciate you so very much. To Lottie Dottie and everybody. Finally have got a little bit of break in traveling, hopefully so. At least until next weekend, probably, because it will be young Solomon's born day as well as Father's Day. Probably will be doing some traveling of some type, but I'm thankful and grateful to be able to be here with you guys today. We're going to jump right into things. If you haven't filled out your form, we're going to have some more information coming out to you guys today. So if you haven't filled out your form as far as Holy Convocation, please fill it out if you can. If you're joining us for the first time, know that you can listen to these recordings, but also you can fill out the forms in the description box, whether it's SOC questionnaire or Holy Convocation forms, by clicking on the link that's in the descriptions with all of our YouTube videos. Now we have them in the bottom. So if you look at the latest YouTube videos in the description, you should be able to see the link that you can click and be able to let us know what's going on if you're going to join us for Holy Convocation. For the festival at towards the end of the year, the middle of our year, but towards the end of the Gregorian or Julian calendar year. And you can go ahead and check us out there. So we're thankful and grateful to each and every one of you for being on today. And we really do appreciate you. And thank you so much for being on. We're going to jump into things since I don't have as much time, since it is Shabbat, and we have our Shabbat Shalom service that we do on the podcast. That'll be at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern New York time. So we will try to hasten today's lesson. This is part 26. Today's conversation, lesson, live session, etc. And thank you everybody for being on. See Sister Cynthia on, Sister Betty, how you doing? Minister Select Joseph. Do I have me? Okay. Don't even recognize what that's about. I guess that's supposed to be clever, or I guess I don't know what that is. I see Sully. Here's where you find those shirts. Either people make the stuff that I wear, or honestly go to certain boutiques, or in all honesty, I know where sometimes to go, especially my wife. She's really great at shopping. So sometimes I know where to go and look for stuff that people in the community that live in a certain place, and what you call what they call like flea markets, or not even that, like Goodwill type places, things like that. We go there as well. So we're kind of all over the place, but because we're in tune with the culture, we kind of know where to go and get certain things, and people are a blessing to us in different places in the world. So that's kind of that there. But yeah, how you guys doing? Thanks for being a part of community. Truvia, I see you in there. Simbed, okay. Well, Shabbat Shalom to you. Shalom, peace to you. Hello to everybody's on. How you doing, Big Brother Thomas? I hate you for love. Sorry, I didn't say something to you. But basically today, so this is part 26, and we want to talk about continuing the conversation. I prayed about it, and I think it was actually asked by Minister Select Joseph if we would continue to. And how you doing, Don? How you doing, Sister Rhonda? If we could continue to go down this path. How you doing, Minister Tamara? If we can keep going down this path of delivery system. We started talking about it last night, and prayed about it, got up. That was what was on. So studied some, looked at some things as far as delivery system, because we're using a little bit of what we would consider to be medical terminology for something, but really it's something that goes past that, right? What is it that you use to deliver things? I was watching some stuff on in India, and I can't remember the name of the group now, but how they basically have something that's been around since the late 1800s that they use to still be able to deliver food, and they use the same exact system, same exact tools, same stuff, hasn't changed, and they're able to get people what they need. And we discussed delivery system for about 45, 50 minutes last night, and we focused in on talking about what delivers us our news, or what we think is credible, or what has become a culture that we've begun to lift up, even if it's not our own, right? And what we discovered, how you doing, Bounty? What we discovered is that when it comes to the system that's in place, man, how you doing, Ms. Mack? If I didn't say hello, um, we discovered that when it comes to the system, that delivery system is what you're educated in, or school system, right? Your school system is what's basically giving you your delivery. And this is what we're going off of. So when people are talking about stuff, when they're talking about Ukraine, when they're talking about Russia, when people are speaking on what their theology is, how you doing, Minister Nice? When people are talking about what they believe in, what people are talking about what their faith is in, what people say their faith is not in, if they're agnostic, if they're atheists, if they're all the different things, if they're Christian, if they are Israel, if they are modern Israel, if they are um, Taoist, if they say that they want to believe in an indigenous spirits, if they are talking about genders, if whatever it is, you're going to find that people are coming from the delivery system, which is the education system. And a lot of us, even if you don't live in it physically, how you doing, Trevon? A lot of us are living in it mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever. We are living in a very Greco-romantic delivery system that makes its way, right? That disguises itself in what you would call school, right? Even the term school, if you look it up, it actually has to do with like falsehoods or like evil. If you actually look up, I think it's like more of a Norse Scandinavian type. I might be off on the country, or the not the country, but the tribe a little bit. But in that area of the world, Scandinavian, and it's something that's actually something that's supposed to be there to trick you. That's what school is. And the person who put this modern school system into effect the most is Thomas Jefferson, who's a Mason. And Masons not only are we give them credit, which credit to be due. I don't want to down every single thing. I don't want to call people outright evil or this and that. Sometimes people do things in ignorance, or sometimes people don't know who's pulling strings, right? But even a Masonic tendency, just like Boule or anything like that, if you know of what I'm talking about, um, even that's going to be speaking to the even that's going to be speaking to your, what's the word, there are people in there that are supposed to trick you, that are supposed to do something. Like there's a guy that I know, not great friends with him or anything, but we are acquaintances through a common friend, and he is a Mason. And I've heard and talked to and even learned from other Masons, in all honesty, some of the stuff that they're willing to give. Or I know one guy in particular, he actually started to have memory issues, memory, and so he forgot basically towards the end of his life where he was at times, and would think he was in the middle of Masonic rituals or things like that, and would slip up and say things here or there. Right. But basically, you have to comprehend that some of the things, going back to the guy I was talking about, and I'm acquaintance with, your common friend, he actually would tell us stuff, and he's like, his Masonic name is Rock. That's what he's supposed to be. He's known as Rock. If you know him, and a lot of people don't know that that's his Masonic nickname. Now, why is that important? He's supposed to be a rock. That means that if you try to say anything to him, he's supposed to automatically stonewall. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. He has been given a specific task to where whatever you're talking about, he's supposed to try and be a brick wall. He's supposed to be a rock. He's supposed to make it hard for you to be able to go deeper into whatever you're talking about. So some people would think that he just is volatile, or he just argues for argument's sake. And in a sense he does, but he has a mandate from his Masonic brethren, right? He has a mandate that says, yes, like, I am going to stonewall you. And that's basically what school is. School, you must remember the timeline, right? When does the Willie Lynch letter come out? 1712, right? So you're dealing with the Michael Jordan of slavery, who gives a speech in Virginia, right, with his Lynch family and others, Virginians that invite him, right, like Lynchburg, Virginia, stuff like that, where people invited him to come over. His family was already big there. They were slave owners and slave masters. Remember, there's two different things. A slave owner owns you. A slave master teaches you. A master is supposed to be a teacher, right? And so, and so, um, well, anybody can be a teacher. All of us teach things, right? But whether they teach right or wrong is what we have to start asking, right? Because we're talking about delivery system. What delivers us everything? What informs you about everything? I don't care what your belief system is. What's been informing you? If you are in the West, if you went to school, if you went to private school, if you went to charter schools, if you went to magnet schools, if you went to schools, the best schools in the country, which by the way aren't even accredited, right? And if you went to the schools that are considered to be great schools, but they're connected to the government, had to be accredited. Either way, right? We were informed somewhere, and so this Masonic slash Willie Lynch slash even pick bits and pieces of taking certain Moorish beliefs but then leaving the other ones alone, etc. It's something that's taught over and over and over again, and it has informed us. Right? We have begun to believe who we are based off of a rhetoric that is not our own. This is why we have to be cultural and everything. And the last thing they want you to do is be cultural. The second that you start learning the culture of something and you start to say, I'm going to believe it and walk in the culture, this society tells you you're a cult, right? This society tells you you're in a cult. Thank you, appreciate it, right? This society would say you're in the occult, you're in a cult, you're somebody who's trying to cause problems, you're somebody who doesn't really know what you're talking about, you're somebody who's problematic because you would dare live what you believe. But I have respect for those that live what they believe. I have respect. We talked about this a little yesterday, how you need to respect your enemy. If your enemy lives what they believe, I respect it more than somebody who says that they're with me or they're part of my community or they're part of fixing the problem, whatever your thought process is, and you don't even believe what you're talking about. How you doing, Jacob's house? Right? You don't believe what you're talking about. You can be worse than an enemy if you say that you roll with somebody, but you don't live what you say. Because when it's time to fight for that belief system and you don't believe, excuse me, and live in the culture that you believe in, when it's time for people to get their own, when it's time for them to lift up their belief system, when it's time for them to make sure that their community is fine, when it's time for them to go out of their way to acknowledge certain things, when it's time for them to create their own educational system, you will be one of the first people to bow down and back up, or to not put in what's necessary because you're still on two sides of the fence, or you like what somebody's saying but you won't make it culture. You said there's only a few private companies that write curriculum for the school system. Yeah, it's all school oriented, right? And you've got to comprehend. Thomas Jefferson made this a point. We talked about this last night. So if you want to look at the recording when it comes up on YouTube, right, when we first started talking about this delivery system, you can do that there as well, right? But this is something that we have to recognize. And Shabbat Shalom to everybody across the platforms. We appreciate you. Yeah, worse than an infidel, right? A non-believer is worse than an infidel. You got to comprehend there are a lot of people that will sit down in your organizational meetings. They'll sit down, they'll march with you and say Black Lives Matter. There's a lot of people that will sit down at your churches and say amen. There's a lot of people who will say alam salaikum and even say alaikum salam and not care about what it is that you actually mean. You have to recognize that there's, like we talked about, there's confidants, people that are for you. There's constituents, people that are for what you're for, but if they feel like, oh, I'm not for that anymore, or they feel like somebody can get me there faster, they will leave you alone. And then there's comrades, people that are against what you're against. And we're walking with a lot of people who are dedicated to an educational system, but that educational system brings forth a culture, right? So I have more respect for the infidel. I'm not saying that it doesn't mean that somebody can't become better at what I'm talking about, but I have more respect for the infidel that's all in than I do for the person that walks the fence. You know why? Because the person that walks the fence, once again, they are dangerous. I said, well, if you were, I don't know how long you've been on, Big Grandpa. I was talking about specifically, I mentioned a whole bunch of things in general. If somebody doesn't believe in something, they're kind of going to be somebody you probably don't want to go to battle with. So that's what more so I was talking about. It's like anything. Now, my belief system, our culture, it's going to become very clear if those don't know who I am when I talk about what we represent as far as diaspora, as far as culture, as far as what people would call spirituality, Ravak, Ruach, Gianyame, the list goes on and on. But there are a lot of people who aren't going to believe what you believe. How you doing, Naya? So a lot of people aren't going to be there. as far as those things. And it's because of what? The delivery system. The delivery system that's here, as we talked about last night, this delivery system has schooled the prison pipeline because this delivery system teaches you how to be a great prisoner, right? This school system has bells to tell you when and where to go, just like another one does. It locks you in a room and then tells you to lock you in a cubicle, then to lock in a book, just like someone else does, right? This delivery system tells you when you can and can't eat. It locks you up. This delivery system tells you to believe a lie, to believe in a fake person, right? That fake corporative person that you are, to be in the system and of it, rather than to realize that you're not this birth certificate or social security number that they give you, right? A fake system, a fake corporation, right? Right. You said, well, how do we change the educational system? It's not my goal to change the educational system. That's why I don't make sure. That's why I make sure that our children are not taught in the educational system. This stuff that I'm talking about now, they're not going to give you in the educational system. The educational system is not designed to be changed. The educational system is designed to change you. And you hear people say that with a badge of honor. I went to the school, it changed who I am. They'll wear Harvard, they'll wear Howard, they'll wear Alabama, they'll wear all these different things. And nowhere did it teach you to be a great person. We talked about this last night, so forgive me for being repetitive, but was just add on the last night, you know, like 25 years, somebody will serve in prison. You call it a life sentence. Why do they consider it a life sentence? Because they don't even think that, you're going to live past 25 years. The people that they believe are going to continue to funnel this slave system, 13th Amendment, slave system, right? And then not only that, they're going to go to a place to where once you get in prison, they're going to say, oh, yeah, well, yeah, he did. He'll do a 25-year system. So we didn't even think he'd live past 25 years. Then we're going to give him a life sentence, which basically means we don't think that he'll live 25 years in prison. It's not designed for him to live. It's not designed for him to be able to come out and be a better part of society. They tell you that. They're telling you, but what they say, they speak what they mean. But because we're not into culture, we don't want to believe that is that culture of that system. Obama came out and said, hey, we're going to make sure that prisons are no longer federal. They're just going to be private only. And everybody clapped their hands and nobody realized, wait a minute, that means that it's back to making sure that the people who really own this stuff can make all the decisions concerning who goes to prison and who doesn't. Plantation mentality. We applauded it thunderously and forgot there's more to it. He said, come out of her. That's we aren't changing their system. Yeah, it's not my goal. It's not my duty to save the world. It's my duty for those that want to come out of the world. The word world there is cosmos, Kosmos, cosmos. So with a K, cosmos with a K, meaning that it's a system. Cosmos with a C would mean it's terra firma, the human, so to speak, would be cosmos with a C. But it didn't say he so loved the world, so he loved you. That's where we take it, even though obviously the love of Yashva, of Yahava, of Arabak HaKodash, obviously they are informing and talking about us. But that's not what it's saying there. It's saying he so loved the system. You got to figure out a way to get out of a system. Our mentality is system based. Our love languages are system based. How you doing? My wife is on. Hey, babe, how you doing? The Honorable Mind is on. How you doing, Sister Beverly? How you doing, Jacob? And please, once again, check out my wife on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree, and runs a great business because her business is helping us to make sure that we are healthy and to be informed with health. If you even want to go to that level too, she can do some one-on-ones and has great things, even tinctures, medicine that she makes from scratch, right? To be able to, well, not from scratch, from what's been created, to be able to be a blessing to us, but these are the things that we have to recognize and realize and comprehend and get the context of, like, who is schooling you? What is your delivery system? Your delivery system and what is the culture? Because delivery systems, they give you culture. No, not blooming, bloom N, like the letter N. So bloom, like a rose, then the letter N, and then flourish. All one word. Bloom, the letter N, flourish at gmail.com. Or I'm sorry, if you want to email her, it's bloom and flourish, then add the number 1 at gmail.com. But anywhere else, bloom and flourish. BLOOM, the letter N, FLOURISH. Bloom and flourish. How you doing, Mayhew? So we got to talk about this educational system, right? The educational system is what educates, and educate for them is different. See, educate really means, if you want to break down the actual word, how you doing, Sister Nakia? The actual word educate means that I'm going to reach inside you. I'm going to pull out that thing that is in you. I'm going to show it to you. and say, see all this potential and everything that you have. And now we're going to put some vision with it. Okay, you see what the vision is. Okay, cool. This is what you said that your vision is what you're supposed to do. Let's place it back inside of you. And now let's work towards becoming, or you becoming, what it is you're supposed to be, right? My goal now is, now that I've actually been empathetic and looked at who you are, I'm supposed to help to develop you, right? But this educational system says we're just going to pull out who you are. And it stops there. We're going to pull out who you are. How do I know this? Once again, going back to the timeline we talked about earlier, 1712, Willie Lynch gives a speech. And in his speech, right, in his letter, if you want to go there and talk all letter, speech, whatever, right, the letter is just something that's there left over from the speech. It's what he read from or what he said, right? And if you listen to what he's saying, he's told people straight up. He said that our goal is to take the body. Is to take the mind and leave the body. We want to take away your mindset and we want to leave your body. That is the educational system. How do I, like, what are some practical examples of this, by the way? Right before people go in there and they think that we don't have practical examples. In other words, we can't show how people are practicing this today. What is the practicality of this? And how you doing, Real? Thanks for being on. Very simply, I can look at the system and say, how many of you went to school, right? You went into the system. You weren't in the system yet. You were learning certain things. You were around it, but you weren't really in it. Just like they did with slave children. With slave children, they were allowed to walk around and everything, but they were going to stick around their parents. They were going to stick around people that knew them, but their parents always had to be enslaved. They always had to be at work. They always had to be picking cotton. You always got to make sure that you said master. You always got to say boss or manager. You always had to be somewhere at a specific time and work until the sun. You went from sun up to sundown. You guys work 9 to 5, but it means you got to get up early and do this and make sure everything's there. And the children got to follow around and see you do it. They got to see this is acceptable. At some point, I'm supposed to give up my freedom. And I'm supposed to go ahead. That's why we tell our children stuff that we don't tell ourselves. Have you ever thought about this? You'll tell your children things you don't tell yourself. You'll tell your children, you can be whatever you want to be, but you ain't being whatever you want to be. How you doing, Ms. Ambitious? Have you ever thought about that? Thanks for being part of the community. Have you ever thought about that? Like, you can be whatever you want to be, except I'm not going to be whatever I want to be. Why? Because I got to pay these bills. Is that a now, once again, see, I'm going to a place of culture. I'm going to a place of faith. I'm going to a place of mentality. I'm not telling you quit your job. And when I say this, because you got to make sure you set up a system, some habits and things. But I need you. Thank you, Sister Nakia. I need you to recognize what I'm about to say, right? You tell your children things that you yourself really don't believe because you won't enact it, but you're just supposed to tell them that. Just like the slave woman would walk around and her child would follow behind her, and she would say, baby, one day you're going to be great. One day you're going to do this. One day you're going to do that. You great. You awesome. You free. Or, you're going to be free one day. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. But she was going to keep picking that cotton. And she was going to have the next baby, even if she was forced into having that baby. She's going to have the next baby. And as the baby fell out and that other child saw her still have to work after she had the baby, sometimes the same day, she was still going to tell that child, you can be whatever you want to be. How many of you went to school and the teachers messed you up because they said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you said something and they said, oh, you can't be that. Why don't you try and find something that's more reasonable for you? That's not something that seems like it's something you can actually become. Be more reasonable, right? With what it is that you're asking. Make sure you have a backup plan, they might say. And you became more reasonable according to this system. When I said forced to have a child, I mean that there were women that were, I'll use the word, I try to use it sparingly on here because people get canceled for just simply saying the word. But I mean, women were raped. And whether they wanted to have a child or not, they were going to have a child. And once they had the child, they had to tell that child, who was going to, by their own father, still be forced to be a slave, like Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Monroe, Madison, Virginia slave owners that made up the first 4 out of 5. If you believe that George Washington, the first president, made up the first 4 out of 5 of your presidents, right? Those presidents that set precedents. We're going to have to go back to that series. That series got lost on YouTube. It's probably on Facebook somewhere still. And it's probably on the podcast. But this is what happened. And so the same system that's set up, right? The same system that's set up caused a lot of people to still be in there, right? I'm sorry, you said definitely grew up in a racist system where teachers were white and aides were black. Some of that happens today, in all honesty, right? You will be who you've been called, designed, or matroned to be. Hmm. You know, so I'm sorry, you teaching me something new. I was so yeah. So it's something that is there. We have to recognize it. We have to recognize that there is a system, and who informs us. Who is informing you, right? I know everybody's quick to talk about your individuality, but there's no individual without the society, right? And there is no society without the individual. And what does society use to inform the individual, and what does the individual do to make sure that they inform the society? It's called school. Once again, we're locked in it because we've decided to. But once again, you can make a decision. It wasn't too long ago that I was trying my best to toil. I was trying my best to get a 9 to 5 together. I was trying my best to make any kind of money because even though I had a degree, I had people that could write themselves down as, as great, great people to look up to and to call and to mention and to say, hey, you know what, like if these people call you, they'd be able to do so. Some people were even willing to lie for me, you know. Didn't really want to use that, but like people were willing to lie, make up stuff. I had a great resume, I had all this stuff and tools and stuff, and I'm still trying to make it. The second that I said, you know what, I have something in me that I know supersedes this system, and I have something in me that will allow me to be able to be myself. When I went back to being who I was called and created to be and being myself, and realizing that thing that I provide that nobody else on the planet can provide. Not saying nobody can teach, not saying nobody can speak, not saying nobody can play music, not saying nobody else can be a hedith or an assembler of any type. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that nobody can do what I can do because nobody is me. Nobody will ever have these things on my finger called fingerprints. They will never have the same ones. Just like when snow falls from the sky, and nobody will ever be able to imitate that snowflake. No other snowflake will ever imitate that snowflake, no matter how close they come, no matter how close they are, no matter how much they study it, no matter how many times they cut out something in a piece of paper, open it up, and do something nice. That little Christmas exercise they had us do and everything, and you make your snowflake or whatever. Nobody will ever be able to be who I am. Neither will they ever be able to be who you are, right? Never, not one time. How you doing, Sister Cherise? And so when I realized that, and how you doing? Thanks for being part of the community. Is it? I don't know if I'm saying this correctly. Is it Ask E Wilsha or Ask A Wilsha or Ask You? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but thank you for being on. Well, I know I'm not. It's just said 7 different pronunciations, but thank you for being on. How you doing, Henry? So when we come into this place and we come into the recognition of who we are, whose we are, who we are called to be, what we are called to be, what we are called to do, we have to get to a place to where who I am is too valuable to try and go by somebody else's standard who does not educate me on who I am. Once again, education, right? This is pretty close to the actual definition, but this is our working definition. Education is when I reach inside you, I pull out who you are, I show it to you, I say, do you agree with what I see? Right? We talk about it, we say, okay, cool. Now let's put some vision with it to reach what we see. Let's place it back in you and let's treat you as an eternal creature. You are already that. You are already the tree, but here's the seed. And right. And so now everything in the seed is going to become the tree. Let's start working towards what it is that we have. That's true education. However, what this system says is education is I will simply pull out who you are. I will take your mind, but I will keep your body. I will tell you that you're doing great things, but I'll treat you like an indentured servant at the highest level. The highest level of respect that they have for you is serfdom, is indentured servant. Most people they'll live as slaves. And before you say I'm not a slave, if you're in debt, you're a slave. If you're a slave, you're in debt. Well, I'm not in debt. I got all my stuff paid off. Okay, question. If you stop working today, you call it work. We call it toiling. The job is to toil. The work is something different. The work is when you're in your calling, doing what you would do for free, right? And having goodness and mercy, or constitutional values and mercies, or greatness and mercy following you all the days of your life. You don't have to chase what's for you. It follows you, right? So how many of you, if you just stop today, have something that you do that automatically takes care of what it is, right? Slave to capitalism. Yes. And by the way, once again, study your enemy. And all the stuff, see, watch this, study your enemy. Does your enemy ever teach you about capitalism while you're in school? Did you ever think about that? You're in capitalism, right? Does your enemy teach you about capitalism? Right, robbing us of our intellectual property and utilize us as a resource. Yeah. You said draw blanks when it comes to who you are. A lot of us do. Right? But I want you to think about this, right? Be in the world, not of it. When you're of the world and in the world, they have robbed you of the ability to see who you are. They have never taught you about capitalism. They never taught you about capital. How could they teach you about capitalism? Isn't it funny that you know more about the capital of and I don't even know if I'm gonna say all these right. I don't remember. I used to know all these by heart. But I never knew about capital, actually, how to use capital, how to make capital, that land was capital, etc. Right? But how many times did they teach us that capitalism? I want you to think about this as far as capital. You learned about you grew up in capitalism, and not one time were taught about capital. You knew the capital of France was Paris or Paris en français. Capital, I don't know how to say capital in French, but capital of France is what? Is Paris. You knew that the capital of England is what? Is London. You know that the capital of, well, some of us know that the capital of New York is Albany. You might know that the capital of, I don't know, of Maryland is, or actually is Annapolis, I believe, right? Could be wrong on that. All right, I'm a little out of practice on this, right? The capital of Virginia is Richmond, by the way. That comes from Confederate times, right? We know about these things, right? Well, even yet, teach us about tools. They teach you to identify it as a hammer, but then you don't know hammers used to nail something in the wall. Hopefully, you've seen somebody, right? You know, you can identify a wrench, but you don't know how to use a wrench properly, how to get the proper torque and be in the proper position and all those things. You know, people know more about LA, but they don't know the capital of California, Sacramento. You know, these are things, right? The capital of New Mexico, Santa Fe. The capital of I can't remember all these. I used to know capital of Texas, Austin, I believe. Like all these things that come back, but I remember they looked at me high because I could say that, but not one time did they ever say, "Hey, do you know how to deal in this system of capital?" That's what ISM on any word is a system. And so, in your educational system in capitalism, the slave master was a poor master. See, this is why you got to get past thinking that money makes you rich. See, what is the most what's two of the most viable forms of currency to ever exist? Question: which one of the two of the most viable forms of currency? We really should say three. Let's just say three because we're talking about in our system. But two of them, everybody would probably agree on. A third one, people might argue. Okay, but what's three? Yeah, okay, so two. Somebody got time and money, and there you go, right? So somebody said land, right? All this different stuff. Somebody said what? Somebody said the Most High. Somebody said gold. Somebody said property, oil and land, humans, right? We should make it four. As we go deeper, this list will get longer. So let me do it like this to kind of give a context because this list will get longer. But when you recognize what we're talking about, right? Time, right? Really, I would always put first Alacham, the Most High, right? Secondly, I would put you, right? If we were to do a list, let's just do a list. I don't know how many we're going to come up with, but let's just do a list because this is what happened. You've got the Most High, right? That's where you get kingdom law, marital law, universal law, because universe means a single spoken sentence. So you got to identify who spoke the sentence. So universal law comes out of that, natural law, all those things. So you've got the Most High, right? And you don't even have substantive law, which means the public and private law, unless you have natural law, which comes from universal law, etc. Like a lot of people don't know. But you got the Most High, you got the human component, the human element, you have time, right? You have time, extremely important, right? Time, and then what else? Information. That's what you call intelligence. And if you are intimate with the information, you call it knowledge. Basically, everything else is going to kind of flow out of that. Somebody says land. Why is land important? Because land is what the Most High made. You're not going to be able to get any more than what He allowed. You can argue it all you want, but that is what resonates in court, ladies and gentlemen. Even they who are trying to twist you and control you by natural law to get you to disagree with what it is there. If you get land, guess who made it? Thank you for the love, Bounty. That's why, like, all the stuff that we have and things that are growing around and things like that. Guess what's going on? As much as you might not want to hear this, guess what's happening with that? When it comes to the land and all these different things that are going on, I need you to comprehend. Hear what I'm saying? Like, you can't get you to show you that your parents were not educated properly. Right? I'm not trying to get you to say that your parents were bad. I'm trying to get to show you that your parents were not educated. I was not educated properly at one point, right? Your parents only signed the birth certificate and made sure you had a social security number because somebody told them to. Somebody taught them to. Somebody educated them to. That was the what? That was the system that was given, right? That was this delivery system. It told them to do so. So they did what they were told. They were told that that was going to give you the best chance at life. And their parents were told that. And their parents' parents were told they're not trained. So they get these bifocals. They get these things called education. They get these things called degrees. They get these things called platforms. They get this stuff called social media, whatever, right? And when they get these things, they believe that these things are deeper and more powerful than they actually are. They believe that they're actually supposed to be used in a different way than what they actually are. They believe that they're supposed to do all these different things because they don't comprehend what's going on. They don't know how to be able to stay in position so that they can read both. And so you haven't been educated. You've been educated on how to stay out of position. You said, is this religion? Is what religion? The act of doing this? Oh, well. Okay, thank you. I've never seen the cowboy one before. But you said, is that religion? Religion, yeah. I mean, religion is what people repetitively do as a legion over and over again. If you repeat it as a legion together, then it's religious, right? I drink water every day. Everybody else drinks water every day. By definition, it would be religious activity. Religion. Yeah, meet your straw man. Yeah, I definitely heard of that. I've read excerpts of it or whatever. But yeah, I'm definitely aware of the straw man. That's why we teach sovereignty over here too. And thank you for the gifts and the likes and the shares and all across all the platforms. We appreciate you. So yeah, we don't recognize. We're not aware of what's going on, and we've lost the ability to have self because this delivery system has delivered something that knocked you out. It literally knocked you out. Thanks for being part of the community, Tyler. Or is it Tyler Earl Bowen? Okay, I couldn't read the name. Sorry. So we're part of this thing that knocked us out. It literally came and knocked you out. Who you are is not important in the system, and so why learn about who you are? The delivery system has knocked us out. You said, Jacob's House says, is there a way to be sovereign without getting into legal issues with the system? I would say, well, I mean, our goal is to always make sure that we're great citizens no matter what and obey the law. My question to you would be, is there anybody that's never going to have to deal with the legal system, even if they're not sovereign? If you had to deal with it one way or the other, I don't even worry about it. But I guess it's a great question from the sense of, but yeah, like it doesn't change anything. Like you still can go to the store, you still can do this, you still can travel, but it takes away a lot of things too. Like if there's things on your record, a lot of that stuff gets expunged when you change over to being sovereign. When you get your DS11 and stuff updated, if you're into, if you're looking at, your tax stuff, obviously that gets better for you. If you're looking at, if you get pulled over, you get treated different when you get pulled over, a lot of stuff. So, there's definitely, a sense of that, but we're talking about, holistically. So a lot of stuff goes away for me because I don't really live in the system. So a lot of people just go, I'm sovereign. Let me get my paperwork done. I'm sovereign. That's it. Right. But I don't live in the system. So you know what? Like the W8BEN, that's something that's powerful. And if I do any contract, anything with somebody, I definitely need to use that. But I don't need it because I have used the principles of the Most High to live a life that says I'm out of the system. If I'm out of the system, I don't worry about being in it. So there's certain things that aren't even for me to worry about. Just not even for me. So like I don't worry about certain things as far as legal issues because I'm not around this stuff enough. You didn't get the last two classes on Zoom? Oh, okay. I'll check and see, Sister Nakia, because the link was the same. The discipleship class didn't happen. We sent an update on that on Google Calendar uh, about how that's going to go. About to everybody. The yesterday happened though, so I don't know if you've been on herbalism yet. Herbalism happened, but we'll try to get in touch with you or send a message out, like you said, and we'll get back in touch with you. You said, do they do this through theology? As far as what? Are you talking about as far as sovereignty? Are you talking about as far as sovereignty? Because I'm not sure. If you're talking about as far as sovereignty, do they teach sovereignty in theology? No, they don't teach sovereignty anywhere. See, this is a problem once again. So think about this. I'm actually glad. Well, let's stick on that. I'm not sure if that's exactly what you meant, but if you don't mind, I'm going to stay on that real quick because that's crucial. Or to control people? Well, yeah, that's Nicolaitan doctrine, right? If you know what Nicolaitan doctrine is, you can't have Nicolaitan doctrine without controlling people. Nikos, or when you hear somebody named Nicholas, Nikos, it basically just means somebody who conquers and controls other people. And like less is like short for laity. That's why you call it Nicolaitan. Laity is, when they say you're a lay person, they're saying that you're somebody that deserves to be controlled, right? So that in and of itself, yeah, like that's why the Bible in Revelation chapter 2, somewhere around verse 15, 16, and in Revelation chapter 2, somewhere around verse 6, it tells us to beware of Nicolaitan doctrine, and actually tells us the Most High hates that doctrine. But you go to a whole bunch of churches today and stuff where they say you're a lay person. That means your person is supposed to be controlled. A lot of people don't know that. And a lot of people who are over it don't know that, but that's the system that's set up. You're using the words for a specific reason. But if we can go deeper as far as does the system teach that? I want you to even think about that. Like all these people that say they're preachers and stuff. Of course, preachers are off. You know why? Because how many preachers, and so there might be somebody who went to seminary and Bible college and all that stuff too. But do you know how many preachers go to seminary and Bible college and not one time in your seminary and Bible college will you take a class on monarchy or how a kingdom works? Now you say you're in a kingdom and you say you're going to school to preach the kingdom and you're supposed to be in the kingdom of heaven. And you know how many preachers go there and don't even know? They come out not knowing how a kingdom works. And thanks for being part of community, Terry. You say you in the kingdom. Yeah. That laity piece, Nicolaitan. That's what Nicolaitan is. Nicolaity is really Nikos laity, Nicolaitan doctrine. That's what it is. So if you're a layper, when they call you a layperson, they're telling you who you are, right? But they don't know that because they don't even know how monarchy works. Because even in our kingdom, even the poor will be with us always. So we're supposed to serve the poor. You can't be a king and not serve the poor. But in this modern society, because you've been educated, the delivery system, what did they teach you? They taught you that you should be a millionaire pastor and not be able and have people in your congregation that can't eat. And tell those people that can't eat to have faith when you have enough money to where their faith should be substantiated. Why? Because hope substantiates faith, and faith is substantiated by the manifestation of things that you've been looking for that aren't yet seen coming into manifestation. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen. If I got it, then you should have it. You hear what I'm saying? That's why Yahweh lifts up these leaders, supposedly these leaders of these environments, is because if he lifted them up, he's supposed to lift them up so that they have for somebody else. But if you're trained by the world, in the world, King Leopold, he comes and he destroys the Congo. That's what he does. That's a great king. King Leopold the first, the second, and the third. And then they hand it over to the CIA so that they can continue to destroy you while telling the people that they're destroying, why aren't you better? Why are you so bad? Why are you stupid? King George married to Queen Catherine, who's a black woman, by the way. which is Queen Elizabeth still on the throne with that blood in her, by the way. But King George, he comes over with a destructive mindset, kill off the natives, all that stuff, right here to the Wampanoag, to the Haudenosaunee, right? Who you know as the Iroquois, to the Sioux, to the Blackfoot, right? To the Cherokee, Taino, all these people you would later call Seminole because there wouldn't even be enough of them left because the Spanish were messing them up simultaneously. We're really doing it before the English even were doing it. The French doing it further on, and what used to be called Louisiana, if you know about the Louisiana Purchase, you know the original Louisiana, and all these different things that are going on. Spanish people doing it over with what used to be called Mexico, coming from Old Mexico, where people are still trying to kill off those people because they don't want those people to look like you and I. So whether they're doing it physically or whether they're doing it figuratively, whether they're doing it verbally, trying their best to make sure that they speak down, their whole goal was to come over and do that. In their system, that's what kings do. Kings, see, in their system, a kingdom means that somebody comes through and dominates by killing you off and making you bootlickers. In our kingdom, a king dominates and then gives you freedom to dominate your environment. Never to dominate another person, but to dominate an environment. Right? Never to dominate another person, but to dominate an environment. Mm. Sister Lindsay, you saying, thank you for the love. Appreciate it. Sister Lindsay said, I call seminary and cemeteries where preachers go to die. See, you're not going to seminary. Maybe just tell the truth. You're not going to seminary really to learn the truth. You're going to seminary to get a worldly education. If you don't believe so, you have to. Do you think that you go to seminary? Like, question. I don't think people think about this, But a lot of us go to college. A lot of going to high school. High school, enough education for you to get what I'm saying. Junior high, elementary school, really, it's the same thing. It's just they doing the same things you when you're older. But when people go to seminary, they don't go to seminary to learn about the kingdom. They're going to seminary to get the same credits that everybody else has to go to. When you go to seminary, especially if you're going to be accredited, see, the best schools, that's why they're not accredited, because the best schools can say, we want to do with our curriculum whatever we want, and we'll give out degrees based upon what we feel. But all these places where you go where they're accredited, guess what they're doing? They have to do the same thing other accredited schools do. So you got to learn English 1, you got to go through an English 1 and English 2, and you got to take on usually a European language, right? And you have to make sure that you take certain types of electives, and you have to make sure that you're going to learn European history too, right? And if you want to learn African history or African American history, even, they'll give it to you as an elective, but it's not necessarily going to count that much towards towards something that's going to be a benefit to you. They do all those things. Kingdoms do not work like a democracy does. A king doesn't work like a president does. In a sense, they do, but presidents are figureheads. Kings are not. Now, there are kings that have been placed as figureheads in history, but guess what? They weren't really the king. Everybody knew it. They were a puppet. And the king who was over them back in the day, he would make it known that they were puppets. See, nowadays you have kings, you call them presidents, right? But the reality is that these kings are puppets. You just don't know the faces, or you don't study the faces. But a lot of these faces let you know, but you don't study the faces. You don't know how the system works. That's why you guys will hear somebody say Michael Jordan, has stuff that he owns, and he has ownership in prisons, and y'all get mad at it and say, oh, he doesn't really have stock, or they're talking about another Michael Jordan. You don't think about the system. If Michael Jordan, hear what I'm saying, if Michael Jordan has a Jordan brand, and the Jordan brand is connected to Nike, and Nike has prisoners that make shoes. I'm not talking about in China only. I'm talking about all over the world, including in your good old US of A, that there are people in prisons right now that are making Nike shoes. Then they're getting paid pennies an hour, or a day, excuse me, pennies a day, and they're going, right, because remember, slaves got paid wages back in the day too. It might take them their whole life and 50 people on plantation, but they might be able to, in 20, 30, 40 years, buy one slave their freedom. They invested in one slave that they said, this will be our future. Even in slavery, they had a mindset of generational wealth. Even if we only making pennies right now, we have a mindset that one of us, and we're going to study who is that one that we're going to lift up. And we don't do that with leadership today. We don't even look to see which one of our children. We don't even look to see which one of our children is showing that we need to invest time and talent and effort and energy. And even if it takes us 30, 40 years and only one of them becomes that millionaire, they're going to become that millionaire that we have informed that needs to make sure they use those millions to make sure that our community is taken care of. And when they do that, then they'll create other millionaires who will be informed, and then they'll start making themselves billionaires in the next generation. But we don't want to put that into it. But even in times of slavery, when they were trying to teach us different, we still had something in us that said, who's the one? Frederick Douglass was the one. Look up his history. You said Nike still at it. You remember back in the day they got caught having child labor. Oh yeah, they still did it. Right? In the NBA, they got mad because LeBron James was, he's a $1 billion slave. And so he had to say the company line. He gets to live a lot better than a lot of people, of course, but don't you find out when LeBron James can't just say something simple like, hey, China should probably stop bullying that country. He came out against it. And everybody got mad at him. But LeBron James can't speak against that. He's connected to the NBA. He's trying to get an NBA team. In order to get what he wants in the future, he's got to give up who he is. Y'all remember Michael Jordan was a player. And I mean, not just in his marriage, but he was a basketball player. Forgive me, shameless joke. Well, shame's not on me, but nevertheless, Michael Jordan was a player, and he became an owner, and everybody got mad at him because they started becoming time to do the players versus the owners as far as negotiations, and immediately he was just a player, went into being an owner, and he started speaking like an owner. Well, guess what? You don't get to represent the players. If you're going to be an owner, you represent the owners. Why? Because owners own. And if you're going to try to come into this where we're going to let you in this house and we're going to let you be the one that lives in the master's house, then guess what you're going to do? You're going to speak like master. You're going to stop saying master. You're going to start saying master. But you're still going to be in master's house. Just because your speech changed, just because your wallet changed, just because it is. Like, you got to comprehend. He made a choice. And a lot of people don't want to recognize that we make choices every day. Every single day. Right? And this is because of what? The delivery system. We think that it's our choice. Somebody might not receive that well, but you think that you're making your own choices while you're in somebody else's system. How do you do that? I've said this before. How do people talk about, well, in the black neighborhood, blah, 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 whether it's you or other people, in black neighborhoods, they do this and that. Oh, it's terrible. Honey, have you heard how in black neighborhoods they shoot each other? It's terrible. Have you ever heard how black neighborhoods, they can't learn? Have you ever heard in black neighborhood, but you can't call it a black neighborhood if it's not black owned. We brought this up, but let me bring it up again because it's very, very much so necessary in this type of conversation. You calling yourself a black neighborhood, but you don't own nothing. You live in somebody else's neighborhood. That's how that works. Yeah, even down to what we wear, we don't really make the choice, right? We can, but we don't know how. Right? If you go to the corner store, and I'm not trying to down anybody else, it's a social construct or race or tribe or anything like that, right? You said I want stuff to be black owned. I mean, I wouldn't mind different things being black owned, sure. Just like I don't mind something being white owned or something being like Nigerian owned or being Irish owned or being English owned or being, you guys say American owned, but American doesn't mean that if you look up the original definition of American, but whatever you want to call it, right? I have no problem with it being there. But what I'm saying is that you can't say that you own something. Like it's like this, right? Before you get into all the other stuff that it seems like you're trying to bubble up and stuff. It's like this. Don't tell me that you own your home or you're going to your house or you're going to your apartment and it's somebody else's. If you got to pay rent to live there, it's not yours. I don't mind anybody owning, but you should have a mindset that if it don't belong to you, then it's not owned. If you still paying car payments, It's not your car. That's what we tell people. Man, this is my car. And you come in this car, this is what you do, and blah, blah. Man, don't spill anything in my car. I still got payments. Well, then it's not your car. I respect it because we should still be great stewards of it. But let's keep it 100. It's not yours yet. Exactly. If you pay a mortgage, even, it's not yours. Thanks, babe. If you pay a mortgage, it's not yours. It belongs to the bank. Right? Well, people are paying property taxes because people don't know about a W-8BN. People don't know about a W-8BN because they don't know about the DS-11 form and how to fill it out properly. People don't know about the DS-11 form because they don't even recognize that in order to be a slave, you have to be in debt. In order to be in debt, you have to be a slave. People don't recognize, they think that we're just making stuff up because of who educated us. They never told you that the United States is a corporation. Once again, look it up, Google it for yourself. 28, that's 28, USC, right? 3002, as in 3002, 15A is an apple. 28 USC 3002 15A. The United States is a corporation. Do some more research. That corporation is located in the capital of capitalism, or in Washington, D.C. Right? If you know, if you are who you're supposed to be, then yeah, you don't have to worry about taxes. But because you aren't who you're supposed to be, you have to. Right? Who you because you aren't who you're supposed to be, you're worried about your credit. Now, I'm not saying we should have bad credit or never use credit. I'm just be honest with you. I don't know what my credit score is. I don't care anymore because I don't need it. Right? Then that's why a lot of us, you're right. You're like, we don't understand it. If you're a slave, you're in debt, you're enslaved. I'm sorry, I'm trying to repeat it. I don't even remember what I said. That's why we record these things. I can't remember what I said. Something along the lines of what, that you aren't. I don't even remember what I said. Somebody might have to put it in the chat. You aren't who you're supposed to be because you don't know who you are, right? Something like that. I don't even remember what it said, right? But you got to recognize. You got to recognize that. Like, we don't recognize these things. Nobody taught us. Once again, the delivery system is designed to, this is what Willie Lynch said, we are supposed to what? Take the mind and keep the body. Even if you don't believe the Willie Lynch letter is real, guess what? Even if people say it's not real, you must comprehend that if somebody faked it, for me, that's a heck of a fake. However, if somebody faked it, you must recognize that all the stuff in there really happened. And they did. In the Willie Lynch letter, what happens of it, the intelligence, that's why you got to respect your enemy and study what your enemy does. What's actually happened in this stuff is that your enemy, hear what I'm saying? Your enemy is actually studying you, but you don't study your enemy. Your enemy respects you more than you respect yourself. And they respect you so much that they will actually try to indoctrinate you and educate you in a manner that removes you from the equation because you're that dangerous to the system. You becoming yourself could be the end of everything in this wicked system. How you doing, bud? You becoming yourself could become the end of this system. The art of war, right? I'm gonna say it one more again. You becoming yourself, recognizing your intrinsic value, recognize the symbiotic relationship that is between you and heaven, you and the Most High. That's you in heaven. That's why read your Bible to bless you. All people that want to bring up these scriptures and stuff but don't know what they're saying because you don't even comprehend who you are, right? Our Father, Abba, our source, who art in heaven, right? Shamayim, that heaven of heavens, hallowed be thy name. Your name is lifted up above all other names. That name is authority, Sham, Shem. That your hallowed be your Shem. Your name, your authority is above all other authorities. What? Thy kingdom come. You keep waiting to die. Do you hear what I'm saying? A lot of cats are out here waiting to die so they can experience heaven. But the kingdom's supposed to come. Why ain't you experiencing heaven? Who's educating you that you believe that you're supposed to die? How you doing, Minister Sonia? Who's educating you and that you think you're supposed to die to experience heaven? What is going on in our community that cats that people are living in places where they're dodging bullets on their way to work and back from, hoping that their boys will be able to live past 21, hoping that their girls will actually be able at some point to have somebody make a wife out of them, and not training their women to be wives before marriage and training their boys to be husbands before marriage, right? Who has trained this? Who has brought this up in you? Who has made you more zealous? Who has given you more zeal over some Nikes that are made in prisons by your people? When they tell you about the Chinese thing, stop Asian hate and the Chinese prisons and stuff, which shouldn't be there either, right? But won't tell you about, but want you to invest in the person who is invested in your prison, in your imprisonment, in your mind. The same shoe that you will kill somebody for is the same company that doesn't mind you killing them because that means you'll make them money. Remember, we talked about these four things earlier, the Most High, and then after the Most High, I'm second on the list. You are the capital, and then that's why third on the list. Then you got to deal with time. You only got a certain amount of time to get this thing in order, right? And after time, information. Do you know that even your money is technically information? Hallelujah. Somebody about to get, I'm trying not to get too preachy. And we got Shabbat Shalom service coming up. And somebody else ain't trying to hear this. Yeah, baby, it's a rabbit hole, right? I need you to comprehend it. Thank you, Minister Sonia. This is Sister Beverly. Amen. Best body butter. Also dabbling a little bit, showing her stuff, right? But I want you to recognize. I want you to think about what's going on. I want you to hear what's going on. Like, your money is information. Your money is not even real because it's not even based off of gold and silver. Yeah, that's why cash is going extinct, because they don't need cash. Doesn't really matter. Like, but here's the thing: on the information they give you for those who carry cash, I rarely carry cash. I got my wallet upstairs. I actually have like $3 in it today, right? But even people that carrying cash, pull out in your wallet. Whoever's got cash right now, pull out your wallet. First person, I will give you. I will cash app you $150 if you can show me anybody. I'm talking about your American cash, because somebody, even though if we went to Canadian money, we could have conversation about this too. But I'll leave that alone. But if you got American cash, pull out your wallet, and if you can find any coin or any dollar that's in your wallet, if you have it in there, I will cash up you 150 if you can right now. Find me somebody who's not a slave owner, a slave master, somebody that hates black people. You won't find it. You won't find it. Okay. When I do bets and stuff, people gotta be careful with me. Like, when I say I bet you blah blah, right? I promise you don't want to bet, because I don't believe in betting. Like, if I gamble, so to speak, I ain't gambling. I'm coming with information. Oh, you got Maya Angelou? Okay, I might owe you something then if you got it. If it was in your wallet too. Because with the Maya Angelou coins, that people ain't really keeping that in their wallet. They ain't really circulating those. But even with that, right? Even with that, and if you had it in your wallet, tell me. I might have to do some installments today, right? But I'm trying to get you to comprehend the context, right? Okay, right? I'm trying to get you the context today. Long story short, which is what? That, like, you're pulling out information. Who's on it? What's the first information that people see? What's the first information? Keon laughing at me too. What's the first information that people gonna see? So you're gonna see your slave master still. In order for you to get something, yeah, they would have to show me anyway. That's gonna be difficult, but they're gonna show you. As soon as you pull out that $1 bill, who comes first? George Washington. What did George Washington do? He was a Virginia slave owner. His parents, or maybe grandparents, were listening to Willie Lynch. He taught them how to deal with slaves. He married Martha because Martha had just as many slaves as he did. So when he married Martha, he doubled up. Hey, Shalom, how you doing? Right? Shabbat Shalom, Shalom, etc. Uh, you he pulled it out. Or I'm sorry, when you pull that out, that's who you're pulling out. George Washington had slaves, married Martha, she had just as many slaves or whatever. He becomes he's somebody who's a traitor, right? Dead presidents, yeah. He's somebody who's a traitor. He's dead, but he's still alive. He's still teaching you. Every time you use that $1 bill, you're using him. Every time you use that $1 bill, you're saying that I'm governed by the slave master. It's on your money. This is a tyrant. This person owns so much land in Virginia and then becomes the president and then says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take some of Virginia's land and I'm going to actually turn it into what you now call Washington, D.C. And I'm going to call, and it's going to be called Washington, D.C. because I'm going to be Washington, the father god, right? That's why you got the obelisk and stuff when you research the stuff. And I'm going to look at the goddess Columbia on top of the Congress building. That's going to be the beginning of your teaching. Every time your child is learning, when they learn about a little bit about money, all they learn about money in school is kind of sort of how to count it when they're young. Yeah, Mount Vernon, you know, you go over to Mount Vernon, you can feel it. Even before you go in, you can feel you in a different place, right? It's slave territory. They use it as a museum. It's a church. It's a place of worship. People go and they pay their tithes, they offering to be able to go in. You got to pay a fee to be able to go in. Just like Thomas Jefferson's house, Monticello, you got to pay a fee to go in. Madison Monroe, fourth and fifth president, right? You got to pay a fee to be able to go into their place. And right down the road, I think it's from Madison, could be Monroe, but I think it's Madison. If you go right down the road a few miles, you'll find that Black people own a lot of land over there now, and they live there. And guess what? Those Black people who are over there, they were the former slaves, still living in the same place, even having ownership of land, praise Yah, but still living in the same place. They're living there in pride, saying that we own where we used to be owned. And I actually had no problem with that, but I'm trying to get you to see like that's where your education starts. Matter of fact, may I say this? Because only and forgive me, I'm not trying to call anybody a name, but I want you guys to think about, if you don't think this is foolish, hey, if the shoe fits, wear it. It does, wear it. If the shoe fits, wear it. If it don't, take it off. In other words, if this is about you, it's about you. If it's not about you, it's not about you. If you don't know it's about you, study. If you think it's not about you, study it. If you think it's about you, study whatever. I'm about to tell you something. A fool believes that they no longer need to be educated. And this is where they get a lot of us as a diaspora. A fool believes that they no longer need to be educated. You said we are trained to trade. That's why we have this money to train us to keep that mentality. Yeah, I want you to comprehend. Yeah, a fool believes that they no longer have to learn. Right? A fool in his heart says that there is no alacham. Right? Hear what I'm saying. Hear what I'm telling you right now. A fool in his heart. What did I say? A fool in his heart believes that there's nothing more powerful than he or she. When I say he, we're talking about Hebrew context, right? Because there's neither male nor female in heaven. So even your eternal self, your spirit, is neither male nor female, even though you can do masculine and feminine things in the spirit, right? But I need you to say a fool in his what? In his heart. The word heart, lab, is passion. A fool in their passion passionately believes that there is nothing higher than what he believes. Even though he will read what other people tell him to support that he doesn't need to know anything else, but he believes that he's the highest that there goes. Right? What the ancient proverb, he that doesn't know that he does not know is a fool. Shun him. He that knows that he does not know is teachable. Teach him. He that knows that he knows is wise. Follow him. And the context of that is a lot of people don't know that they do not know. They're out here with Dunning-Kruger effect, and they're teaching a lot of people ineffectively and causing the community to be ineffective and causing the system to continue to be more ineffective, right? Because they will not admit that there might be something they don't know. But then what? The second one, he that knows that he does not know is teachable. Teach him. There are some of us that are willing to say, you know what? I don't know this. I don't know that. I'm not aware of this. See, in this educational system, you're supposed to try and get 100s on tests. That's the goal. The goal should be to try and learn from somebody that keeps getting you something. Because the time you get 100 on the test, like watch this. If you keep getting 100 on the test, no shade to you, but if you're getting hundreds on all the tests, it can be a sign that you studied and all that. But guess what? If you can ace everything, you ain't even got to study anymore. Or you got, barely got to study to pass it. That means that you're in a place that you shouldn't be in, because it means that that master or that teacher is not doing a great job. At least that teacher should be doing something. You getting hundreds on everything. Okay, meet with me after school. We're going to actually learn some stuff. Or when everybody else is doing this, I'm going to put a little extra on your assignment. I'm going to push you. I'm going to try and get you there. But see, the problem is that you only are supposed to meet a certain criteria. You ain't supposed to go but so high. You're supposed to think that you know everything. You're supposed to get to a certain level. You think that you know everything. How you doing, Sister Tulips? You're supposed to think that you know everything. So you think 100% got it. That's why in our school, our curriculum and stuff, you never see me grade anything, because I don't know everything, and I'm not worried about you knowing everything. I'm worried about you learning, and I'm worried about you, and I'm more concerned about, can you take this and be able to use it in a different atmosphere. Even if you take Hebrew language 1, if you take Hebrew characters, if you take sovereignty, if you take Black history, if you take whatever, and you can only execute 2 weeks worth out of the 8 weeks, you have 2 weeks more than you ever had before. It's on you to do the study and the research and things like that. It's not on me to make sure you get 100%, because even if you get 100%, that's just 100% of what the class was. There's so much more. Like, a lot of people don't believe us when I say on these live sessions, like, we're giving limited information. We're being highly repetitive, which is necessary too, but we're being highly repetitive. We're not focused all the time. We answer different questions. We bounce around. We do this. But when you get in the class situation, you're like, oh, I didn't think I could really learn any more about this, but apparently there is. Yeah. And by the way, just because you got 8 weeks or something doesn't mean like, do you know how long it takes somebody, how much knowledge it takes to be able to develop an 8-week course? Somebody will hear me talking about something. They'll be like, how can you talk about this stuff every day? Man, I've been dealing with reading the Bible since I was 4. And even when I was agnostic for a few years of my life, well, quite a few years of my life, whatever. And then even when I started going to churches to try and come back into the Bible, and then when I started saying the kingdom, all that, like, this is years of my life. I'm about to turn 40 this year. That means 36. When I turn 40, a little less than 36. So basically, a little by the end of this year, a little less, or maybe I don't know exactly when I started learning the Bible and stuff, but basically somewhere. So let's just say 36 years of my life. Right? Even in being agnostic, I still was studying. Even if I was studying other cultures and things, I was still studying. Even if I was studying other people's belief systems, I was still studying. It takes all that. So what I'm saying, and I still don't know everything. I'm still tip of the iceberg. There's some things I can go profound in, and there's some things I have not a clue. You want me to go into Indian history? I can tell you some Indian history, but I can't. I'm not a master of it, and I'm not talking about Native American. I'm talking about Indian, right? Because India has a history and it's tied to us. Like, a lot of people don't even know. Like, for example, see this stuff we're not taught. For example, Indian people and African people should have no beef, even though we do. But we should have no beef, because you can't be Indian without being African, which means we're the same people. You say you've been a teacher for 10 years, have so much to learn. Yeah. And then you got to learn your students too. On top of that, you're always learning, right? But the things I know, that's the last part. It says, he that knows that he knows is wise. Follow him. The things that I know, I'm intimate with. Oh, yeah, I know that. Why? Because I live it. I live it. I eat, sleep, and live and breathe this stuff. I don't wear this for the live and then take it off as soon as I go to the store. If I go to the store, cats be around me sometimes thinking, why you overdress this and that or whatever. I don't overdress. Kings don't overdress. They don't underdress. They dress. Queens don't overdress and underdress. They dress. How I'm laying around the house is how I go outside. Right? So he that doesn't know that he doesn't know is a fool. Shun him. He that knows that he does not know is teachable. Teach him. He that knows that he knows, though, is wise. Follow him. On certain things, yeah, no problem. You want to come down this road? I got you, because I know this. I might not know everything, but what I know, oh yeah, I know it. That's why you guys will hear me. Sometimes the answer is I don't know. Sometimes I see you guys mention the word I don't know it. I say, wow, that's cool. Like, I like to learn stuff. I like to learn new words. Somebody says something like, "Oh, cool, that's cool." If I have time, some of you guys send videos. I don't always have time to watch every single video. I get videos all day, but if you send me a video, I try my best to listen to it, at least a little bit of it. And I try to even lift up when you guys say something. That's why I be in the comments trying my best. I'm not perfect at it, but I try my best to be like, "Oh, that was great," or "Let me read this comment. Let me read that." Why? Because what you say is valuable. It's called appreciation. Appreciation means it's supposed to lift up in value. If you go and you get your gold ring or whatever, appreciate it. Somebody's supposed to tell you what the value of it is. They're supposed to lift it up. You're going there hoping that you'll be able to sell it, right? Appreciate, lift it up. But you're in a system once again. What is it that's going to be shown to you? What is it that is happening as far as this delivery system that they have, this educational system? Do they lift you up? When you were in school, I'm not saying that, I don't want to hear once a quarter they gave you a certificate or something. Once in a while, your parents took you out for ice cream because you had a good report card. You got to get a video game. I'm talking about in your school system where you appreciate it, where you lift it up every single day. Did they lift you up every single day? What in the United States of America lifts you up every single day? You said, "Do you know the code?" And I'm not sure what you mean exactly, right? I don't want to, but what in this society lifts you up every single day? It's not designed for that. It's not designed. You keep going to the president talking about write this jurisdiction, make this thing. It's not designed for that. He's not supposed to lift you up. His job, his number one duty, no matter what president it is, guess what every president's number one duty is? To support and defend the Constitution of the United States Corporation against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. If you're not lifting up the corporation, you are an enemy of the state, and you will be, or the fake state, right? But the state nonetheless, and you will be dealt with as such. Why do you keep going to presidents and the governors and to mayors and the congressmen and congresswomen and the councilwomen and the councilmen and et cetera, et cetera? Why do you keep going to them asking for them to change the system when this system has you exactly where you're supposed to be? Your introduction was you were wrong for being left-handed. Yeah, right? Take away from who you are. This system is not designed to appreciate you, it's designed to depreciate you. Thank you, Chill Pill. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Even though I missed our call, appreciate you. Right? Like when I say I appreciate you, I'm trying to tell you I want to lift you up in value. That's what the word means. We don't even know etymology though. The reason why a lot of people feel down, right? And some of you, we have conversations where you told me, did you feel down about this, that, or whatever? The reason why a lot of us feel down is because you're still part of a system that tells you you're down. Why would you keep interacting with that? Why would you not want to interact with that less and less and less? I don't know. I'm not saying I don't know as far as I'm not aware of it. I'm saying I don't know as far as I'm not intimate. KNOW really talks about your intimacy. I'm not intimate with the system enough anymore to be worried about a lot of this stuff. I comprehend shootings seem to be up. There's probably going to be some copycatting stuff going on. Matter of fact, Dylan Roof was a copycatter. The guy who did Southern Buffalo was a copycatter of Dylan Roof. I didn't know about it until you guys started telling me about it. I didn't know it was that big a deal because there's so many shootings that go on. Guess what I've done? I'm so focused on kingdom stuff that I'm making sure I'm protecting our people from this stuff, but I don't have time to really research and stuff. I see it. I say, okay, cool. I need to study it. I need to look at it. I need to be able to see what's going on. All right. After that, I don't need to watch the news no more on it. They've been killing us since before there was a such thing as the United States of America. They were killing us before there was such thing as an English colony. Right? That's not. I respect it. I study it, but I'm not studying it to try and make sure that I have to watch it again tomorrow. It's not my focus. It's not my educator. What about them shooting me teaches me about me? Okay, I'll learn about it. I'll see what's going on. I'll see what's in the system. But once I see that they're shooting me, okay, That means that I've studied enough to know it's time. You know what I'm saying? When it's time, it's time. I'm ready. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm ready whenever, like I'm not that's what I need to know. If that's what you're doing, like Malcolm X taught me, right? And he told us, and he told the oppressor, he said, when they said, Malcolm, what about the guns? He said, when you tell your people to stop shooting my people, that I will tell my people to put down their guns. And he ain't told me yet because I ain't seen that they stopped shooting. And somebody will tell you I'm wrong for that, and then I'm the one that's putting up gun violence. No, I'm smart for that because gun violence happens whether I'm not strapped or I'm strapped. It happens whether I'm physically present or I'm not physically present. You said there's been somebody was saying there's been 248 school shootings in 10 years. Yeah, there's been. That's what I'm saying. Like this weird thing that we're doing where like this is the one that's going to change all the stuff. 247 other ones. Right? If what that woman says is true, there's been 247 other school shootings. You think this could be the one that's going to change and make sure that they think that your children need to be valued? And we talked about this yesterday. Like, and let me end kind of as we get ready to take our lead because Minister Kevin's going to be coming on, and we don't want to step on his toes as far as him being able to make sure that he can teach and we can get on time for Shabbat Shalom service on the podcast. So we always end a little early on Shabbat, anyways. But I want you to see this, right? Maybe we should start. We talked about this yesterday. Should we not start thinking about if we're in a system that says you have to go to a place called school, but you have to go to a place that the teachers have to be strapped? Maybe something's wrong with that system. Maybe something's wrong with that school. I'm not saying they need to take your weapons away. I'm saying maybe the school is a problem. If you gotta be strapped. Have you ever thought about the fact that people hate school? Can we start there? I'm repeating myself from last night, and I'm sorry if I'm not going to be in the comments as much as I normally would be, but I just want to make sure, right? Yeah, no one got shot at a homeschool, right? But I want you to hear this, right? I want you to get this. The school might be the problem. If people don't even want to go there, do we have a problem? Right? Salah, right? If people don't want to show up at your school, that we might have a problem with school. Right? First things first, before you talk about the gun control, first things first. If people don't even want to go there, do you think that people might be a little ornery when they show up? You think if people are tired of being bullied, but they're supposed to go there, and you're thinking, okay, go there, be bullied, it'll make you tougher and this and that or whatever, right? I'm not saying that your children should never deal with being bullied. But if your children have to go to a place to where they get bullied because they can't afford shoes, could we have a problem with this system called school? Of course, the system called school is just simply training you on how to be society, and society is training the school on how to be there. That's why no individual is greater than the society, no society greater than the individual, right? Just like no school is greater than the society, and no society is greater than the school. But if your children are going to the school and the society's messed up, then why you think that the school's going to be okay? Do you hear what I'm saying? Like, I need you to get that. We talked about it last night, but I need you to get it. Your school has just as much, when it comes to your children can go to school. And almost, I know people are going to say that this ain't true, but almost 100% of them people that are in prisons, especially your Western society, almost 100% of those people that went to prison, they went to your schools. What is your school really teaching them? You can't say that about homeschooling. But you can say that about public school. Almost 100% public, private, charter, whatever. Almost 100% of the people that went to jail, they all went to school. I don't know if there's ever been a shooting at a private school. Probably. Matter of fact, there's been shootings at private schools. There's been shooting at Catholic schools. There's been shooting at charter schools. And if there haven't been shootings, see, I even need us to get past this. We don't even recognize it. We're like, school shooting, school shooting. You know, there's been school stabbings. You know, there's been people that have gotten jumped at schools. Heck, some of us been involved in jumping people at school or being jumped at schools or fighting at school. It's a learning place. You're learning to go into society where people shoot up people all the time. You're learning to go into society where people hang people from trees all the time. And when I say all the time, statistics show, not the ones that they try to doll up and stuff. I'm telling you, somebody right now, today, there will be at least one person that will hang from a tree in this country. They're just training. The system is, the school is getting you ready for the system. That's why you're gonna find somebody. There's somebody that you know right now. There's a lot of people that we know right now struggling financially. You know why? Because none of us were taught how to deal with finances. The system sets you up for that. The system can care less if you die off. You're a slave. That's what the system looks at you as. You know your birth certificate. The reason why they your birth certificate, it should be in value to you for different reasons. But you know why your birth certificate has so much value? Your birth certificate has value because everybody's birth certificate, and this is years ago, so it's probably up now. But the average value in each birth certificate was something like $6 million a few years ago per birth certificate. Because they don't believe you're going to make $6 million in your life. A lot of you, they don't feel like you're going to make $6 million ever. A lot of people think, somebody brought this to my attention when I was in school, and now I recognize that I'm blessed to where I say I'm definitely going to be able to hit over that, and my family will for sure. But when we were in high school, somebody thought, they were like, "You think you're going to spend $1 million in your life? You're not going to spend $1 million." And I was thinking blah blah, but I wasn't really. And it was somebody. It was a white guy, Jean. He spelled his name Jon, Jean, and I forget what his last name was. We were kind of cool or whatever until we hit a certain point, but he was trying to be popular, and so he eventually had to go his way, and I had to go mine, right? But he was trying to tell me one day, he was speaking from facts. Like, the first car I ever drove was actually his car. But he had like a Mustang and stuff. Like, I told y'all I was allowed to be the token. I got to hang out. I actually got outed because I was trying to act like I could drive, and I really couldn't drive. But he was like, "Yo, you want to drive this car? You want to drive this car?" Like, he was really he was trying to always impress and stuff. But he was an okay guy. But he schooled me on stuff in high school. That's when I was in Alexandria, Virginia, and he's like, at that time it was top 3% of schools in the country. I don't know what it is now, but it's really, 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 really good, supposedly good education. But he schooled me. He was like, "Yo, you think you're gonna spend $1 million in your life?" And now he came from money. Like, he lived right across the street from the school. It came from money, right? Like, I didn't live there, but I went to the same school. My father worked hard so we can go there. He thought that would help us out, and it, in a lot of ways, did. I'm not gonna act like there's no value in it whatsoever. But he, this dude was like, "You think you're gonna spend $1 million in your life?" I didn't know what he was trying to tell me, but he was like, "You think you're gonna spend $1 million in your life?" And this was, I graduated 2000, so we probably had this conversation 99, 2000, somewhere in there. And I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm gonna spend $1 million," because in my mind, yeah, I'm gonna spend $1 million. $1 million is not that much money. Like, even to this day, there's a lot of people. I didn't learn this. I met with up with Pastor Hamilton, and we had conversation. I won't talk about all our conversation, but he brought up something that was very valuable. Um, I didn't know this about about Detroit. And he was talking about one spot in Detroit. So there's, obviously, it's very segregated in Detroit, like it's segregated everywhere else. But he was talking about in the community that he blesses with our people there. Um, oh, you work at Alexandria? Oh, I didn't know you, but that's where you work at. Okay, you probably told me. I might have been paying as much attention. I apologize. But he was saying that the median average for people in there is 6,000. I said, "Wait a minute." In my mind, I'm like, "Hold up," because I'm confused. I'm trying to be like, "Okay, does he mean a month?" But it can't be a month because it's supposed to be poverty. And then, so I had to ask him a very sincere, even though it seemed like a simple question. And I was like, "Wait a minute. So they make 6,000? You mean a year?" Because right? Like, I'm saying, he's like, "Yeah." There's like 6,000 a year. I was like, "Wow." I'm glad that we're going to do the thing up there now. Shoot, might try to find a way to donate to something up there, or make sure, because usually when we do something like this, I try to make sure we do something in the community, something in the environment. So we might, for those of you who want to maybe get up super early or maybe get up super late, we're gonna make sure we protect it and stuff, and we know where to go. But we might have to go somewhere and just make sure that people get what they need. Maybe we'll just do it with the brothers only, or make sure there's enough brothers there that if the sisters want to come, they'll be protected, right? Because you got to be careful with that stuff too. But there's a mindset, there's something behind that. And guess what? A whole bunch of these people that are there, they went to school. Median average 6,000. You think that has to do with school? You think that there was anything that taught these people to live like that? Oh yeah, we're doing the convocation up in Detroit. I can't give out all the information. I'll give out all the information where we're, but we got the information online. If you're on YouTube, if you go to the YouTube channel, look up the latest videos. We've been putting this stuff in the link if you want to sign up for it, right? But I'm trying to tell you that like we don't even recognize it. And these are people. He was telling me stories about people who have worked in very high and prestigious ways and still ended up where they are now. Some of this stuff has to do with people's choices sometimes too. But what is your education? Who educated you on money? Who educated you that you had to have so much of your future invested in Ford? Did Ford ever care about you? Yeah, we were just in Detroit. Thank you, Minister. So yeah, we were actually just in the D, last week, 2 weeks ago. This stuff is a blur now. we did so much traveling. And the last couple of weeks, 2 weeks ago, I think, right? Whatever no, we were there the 29th and the 30th, right? Because we were in Chicago the 27th, 28th. Yeah, we were in Detroit 29th, 30th. So there you go. But I'm trying to tell you, like nobody gave us this stuff. They educated you, but did they? Who they educated you, but did they? Yeah. Yeah, we rode through when we were coming into the hotel, we rode through the richest part of town. And I'm telling you, like those homes were homes like that. Some of those homes were homes like I've never ever seen. Would have never thought that was the D, even though technically we were right next to Detroit. We would have never thought that. Would have never thought that, but that's how close. That's how close. Do you like in Washington D.C.? If you're familiar with the DMV and you go to D.C., a lot of people be like, "Don't go to Southeast, this and that or whatever." I'm telling you, some of Southeast is really bad off and this and that or whatever. If you know what you're doing, you can walk with your head held high. A lot of cats, they actually, D.C.'s like I describe it like this. DC can be dirty, but it's not grimy. Like there's other places you go, they grimy. Like they'll just rob you just because, like you go to LA, you'll get pressed. You know what I'm saying? Where you from, cuz? Stuff like that. You go there, you better not be wearing red or blue. You better not wear a hat of any kind of color. Right. If you go through there, if I go there, I'm proud to wear my African stuff because I'm quick to make sure it's gonna be multicolored and everything because they gonna know, okay, they're gonna think I'm from somewhere else. For real, right? Like some places are grimy, right? This is stuff that you don't get educated on either, but you gotta know, right? But some places are grimy, like DC, Southeast DC, more dirty. Like they'll do you dirty, but if you respect game in DC, and like in Southeast where everybody be talking about, and so, but yeah, when you go through there. You'd be surprised. You turn a corner out of what you think is this dirty neighborhood, hood falling apart, everything, boarded up and all that. Make a left-hand corner and you go, and you start traveling. You're like, wait a minute, is this a gated community back here? Are these $1 million homes? Where'd this come from? This Southeast. People think you got to go all the way to Northeast, Northwest. Well, not even Northeast. People think Northeast is right now too, even though now a lot of it's being gentrified. But Northwest is where people think you got to go all the way up there. But even in Northwest, right? We used to be somewhere right where you go. There was a place, there's like a 7-Eleven, right, where we could walk to be able to go to a train station. And when you walk to that 7-Eleven, if you keep walking across the street, there's all these police officers that'll be there. And then you keep going and you go past the police and everything's fine. And if you don't know any better, you pass in the projects. You pass in the projects. It's this little, on both sides, it's like a little tiny cul-de-sac, but a whole bunch of people live over there and the police stay there just waiting for anybody to say or do or look like according to the law that they're doing any small thing and they're ready to try and pounce on everybody. These same people that are living in that situation where they're worried about just trying to walk out without being arrested, right? These same people go to school. They're taught that that's acceptable, right? I'm not trying to say you can't have any allies or whatever you want to call people. I'm here to tell you, right? As we gotta get ready to take our leave soon, so we can be ready for Minister Kevin on Shabbat Shalom on the podcast. But I'm here to tell you, and all this stuff that you're hearing people talk about, right? And all these things, and the reason why we put this as part of the FAQ series is because, like, people asked us to talk about this, so frequently asked questions, right? But I want you to see all this stuff that we're talking about, like. This stuff is real. It's every day, and these people are being trained. And all these allies that are here talking about, we had no clue. There's no way you had no clue. You didn't hear us. You didn't listen to us. You didn't accept it. You thought that it was too much. Why? Because somebody trained you to believe that. They trained you to believe that. Just like they tried to train us to believe that I'm the one that's off. See, he could never get a corporate job. Who cares? If I don't get a corporate job, can I still take care of my family? You have black people, man, don't train. Look, I'm not mad at them for this, but I need y'all to comprehend. Like, even if you know who Stephen A. Smith is, when Stephen A. Smith be getting on us as a people, he actually has genuine concern, right? He's not quite Boule. I don't know if he is Boule or not, but he acts like Boule. But he actually has you can see it on him. He has genuine concern, even though a lot of times he's just trying to win an argument. When he says stuff like "stay off the weed," right? Stay off the weed, like he says, right? When he says stuff like that, or when he says, "Hey, don't tell people you can get tattoos and do this and you can get cornrows and blah blah," because they can't go and get a real job. In his mind, the only way to take care of your family, the only way he became a millionaire like he did, is he had to be accepted in white society. That's his mindset. So he has genuine concern. He's been educated to believe this. He went to school. He's educated. His people that he brings up are people like Larry Brown. I mean, I know he talks about other black coaches and stuff too, but Larry Brown, white coach, who told him that he had to have a certain specific type of shoes that he wears. Same type of shoes he still wears to this day. Why? Because somebody educated him and told him that we lack community curriculum, right? The delivery system needs to be black again. It needs to be African again. It needs to be Ethiopian again. Going back to India, by the way, I kind of cut out on that, but the Holy Spirit just said, make sure I hit that. Something simple. If you want to make sure that you comprehend what's going on in India and between black folk and stuff, recognize that there's something called sects, 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 right? And there's 5 of them. There used to only be 4, but now there's a 5th one. The 5th one is called the Untouchables. The Untouchables are basically supposed to be us. However, they like to talk about people like Buddha and other people. Well, Buddha is called the Enlightened One because he came from a black tribe, West African tribe, that came over there that still lives there to this day, called the Enlightened people. That's why Buddha doesn't have snails on his head and stuff that they be talking about that doesn't even make sense. All right. It says that Buddha had cornrows. Or not cornrows, sorry, he had Bantu knots. Excuse me. He had Bantu knots on his head because he's from the Enlightened tribe. He was black. And there's stories of people going and fighting in Vietnam. And in Vietnam, guess what? When they went in there, black soldiers got treated like a whole different type of way. And they were like, yo, why are they treating us like this? Come to find out that they took him into temples and Buddha looked like them. And they had never really seen, they were dark skinned, but they had never seen somebody that looked like Buddha. And so when they saw that they looked like Buddha, they thought that we were Buddha. They thought that we were the enlightened people. They know the history. They know this, not even history. They know the story. It's his story says something different. They know the story. They know who we are. Why didn't they teach you that in school? Somebody who they would say is not educated knows more about you than who you are. Remember I said this earlier? Your enemy believes in you more than you do. That's why they spend so much time cutting you down. They believe in you. They are afraid of you. The second that you ever come to yourself is the second that wickedness disappears. The second that you decide I'm going to be sovereign, that's one less slave on the plantation. That's why in the definition of human in Black's Law Dictionary, human, you have to look up something. It says see monster as an SEE, look up the word monster. And when you look up the word monster, monster has no rights and things. Why? Because a human being is a monster. If you ever were to become a human being, you are monstrous. When somebody say I'm a monster, right? You play sports, you give me the ball in the post, I'm backing you down, I'm giving you a little dream shake or whatever, hitting you with the hook, dunking on you, yamming, doing whatever, getting the assist. They might call me a monster because I'm killing the game. Well, guess what? If you ever come to yourself, right? You are monstrous. You're killing the game. Going back to India, do you know there's something called the Ganges River? If you look up the Ganges River, you can't have the Ganges River unless you talk about a West African king. You can't have India without you. And you can't have you without India. You're in there. It's symbiotic. The second that you realize that we're in everything, right? But you've been taught. That's why you're considered to be there, because you are dangerous. The second that you recognize that is your humanity, hey, even if you want to read your Bible, it'll bless you. I'm not saying that if you're not black or if you're not Israel, or whatever, you can't get into heaven, because that's not what it says. But Revelation chapter 2, verse 9, it tells you who you are and who you're not. Revelation chapter 3, verse 7 through 9, it tells you who you are and who you're not. And Revelation chapter 7 says that Israel must be sealed in order for those that are grafted in, according to 1 Corinthians 11, to be able to come in at all anyways, because Yah has to keep his word. We don't like keeping words. We don't like etymology. We don't like studying stuff and understanding. Understanding means I had to literally stand under it. We don't like that stuff, but it's in there. Stop calling yourself a Christian and you won't even read your own Bible. Or maybe that's why you're a Christian. That's why I'm not. Real talk. But stop saying that you into this Bible and you won't even read it. But once again, who's educating you? That's the goal. At the end of the day, we're talking about what? We're talking about the delivery system. The school is a delivery system, and they delivered you a falsehood. They delivered you a fable, and they're delivering you up to be slaves. The question is, do you still want to be a slave? And if the answer is no, I would suggest to you it's time to put in work. That being said, thank you all so much. Appreciate the king, queen in each and every one of you. Even if you're not living inside the kingdom or queendom yet, we appreciate the potential king, queen in each and every one of you. Those who have discipleship class, we're gonna try and work out this discipleship thing. I don't know if I'm gonna do a recording or we'll just try and start again next week or whatever. But we'll make sure that we get that taken care of ASAP. Thank you all for your time. If you're taking Sovereignty One, if we haven't done so already, please make sure that we set up our one-on-one time. I know there's a couple of people I didn't reach out to, so I'm gonna try and double check that today. We're supposed to make sure we try and get your DS11s done. That's why we took this week off. And by the way, double check this. We have for everybody, technically the stuff that we haven't done that we had to catch up on, when people are like, I didn't know about this or that or whatever. If you actually look up, we have the curriculum, right? So you can actually go on the website, click on the curriculum. You can actually check out what it says on the curriculum, like there's certain things highlighted, like we won't be on like June 18th. I will I will definitely not be on June 18th. So those who are taking classes will have a recording for those days. That's a Saturday. So that'd be marriage, and not today, but next Saturday. Those who have marriage and biblical law. Next Saturday, it'll be a recording only. It's highlighted on there and everything. So you can always check and see what's coming up on the curriculum. I think the only thing that was off anyways is discipleship. I had treated the second session. I was led by the Holy Spirit. We went and the Holy Spirit said that I was out of order to teach a class and not talk about something specific that we talked about. But all that stuff should be on there listed for you. But thank you all. Got to get ready to take our leave. We got to get ready for the Shabbat Shalom service on the podcast. We're on. If this is your first time joining us, we're on every day, 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. We're on every weekday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern New York time, except for Wednesdays. We've started doing Wednesdays, even though that's my day off. We've started doing Wednesdays on the for other people to step up if they would like to. It's still going to be my day off, but if you want, some people say they like the day off. Some people say, hey, I need a little word. So we're going to give the opportunity to the ministerial staff to be able to do some teaching on that Wednesday on the conference call. So we send out something. If we have your email information, we send out an email. If you didn't get the information, just let us know. And we're thankful and grateful for you guys for doing that. And yeah, thank you again. I think that's all we have. Obviously not this Sunday, but the Sunday after that will be not only Juneteenth, but Father's Day. So we'll have something very special. And since it's Juneteenth, we'll probably be talking about Black fatherhood. So hang in there. If you're like, oh my goodness, you're talking about Black fathers, not all fathers, but obviously talking about some things that go across the board. But it is Juneteenth, so I'm going to honor the day. So just be ready for that. And other than that, yeah, we appreciate you. We thank you. We look forward to talking to you all very soon. Again, if you haven't had a chance to fill out the forms and stuff, fill out the forms. We're going to have some information, especially for those who said that they want the hotel room. We're going to have some information sent out to you guys today so you can make some calls on things if you need to, and also some information. I think we actually have the address for the hotel, but we didn't give out the phone number for the hotel and stuff. So we're going to make sure that we set up some stuff for you guys and then give more information about the hotel and things like that. And yeah, I think that's all I got. So we appreciate you. We honor the King, Queen, each and every one of you. Please study this word, meditate on it, so you're not just hearing it. You can apply it and be doers as well. We're thankful to the Most High for my wife. Once again, check her out on TikTok, YouTube, website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. And finally, I still, if you want to be a part of what we're doing, if you like what you're hearing, if you want to participate, if you want to figure out the different platforms we're on, different things you can help. Some people even, people give time, talent, effort, energy, works, prayers, gifts, etc., talents. Some people even bless us with donations, offering, you know, um, donations even through class and I think, but sometimes just for donations sake, offering, and even Some people give tithes and things like that. We're thankful and grateful for helping us. We're working towards the land. We're getting closer and closer to October. We're still believing Yah for exactly what he's saying, even with them trying to raise prices and do this and that or whatever. We're getting closer and we're still believing him. We just went and visited somebody, but one of the people who said you can start even using our land before then to try and start growing some stuff on. So we've had even some of that going on. So things are going great. But if you want to know more about what's going on, just let us know. If you're on YouTube, all the information is in the description box. If you're on TikTok, all you got to do is just go to our main TikTok page, or our TikTok page, because we have Kofi_43 and Kofi_44. If you want to help us out to help us get to 1,000 on that. So if we ever need to go over when they start, if they start doing what they did with the first page and the second page, which is stopping the lives and then eventually canceling us, you can move over there to that one and be ready to help us to be able to go. But just go to TikTok page where it says website, where it says bio. We have a little bit of information, but click where it says website. That's our link tree, and a whole bunch of stuff will pop up for you to be able to do some research on us and see if maybe we're somebody that believes in what you believe, like-minded, and are worthy of moving forward and helping. So thank you so much. We appreciate you all. You have an excellent day. Shabbat shalom to everybody. Shabbat shalom. And as always, it's been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And until the podcast at 10 a.m. Eastern New York time, or the next time that I might have a chance to be before you all again, please remember, as always, Yashadel, that you are loved, you're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shabbat shalom. Peace.